Hey, Frog Prince Rana here, and thank you for dropping by. Well, I need a break from my usual debunking anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, flat earthers and such video. So I thought this might be a perfect time to make a public service video regarding a topic that I'm unfortunately extremely familiar with. We'll be talking about MLM or multi-level marketing scam. I'm afraid that there is a lot to cover. So this video, I'll try to focus on understanding it, and hopefully in the future, I can cover on how to spot such scams. Full disclosure. As I just mentioned, I'm extremely familiar with MLM. Dare I say I'm an expert? Now, I have never partaken in any MLM scheme. Not that I will ever do. I'm what you might call a monkey. Put quarter in me and I dance. I can toot my own trumpet and compare myself to a weapon designer. I get requirements and I architect a system. It is same as writing a cryptocurrency, which unfortunately I've done as well. As I said, I'm a monkey. And if people are gullible enough to be conned into believing in a get-rich-quick scheme, well, that's not really my fault, is it? That being said, I'm no longer held by any kind of stipulation and can provide an in-depth look on how most MLM works, how to spot the scam, with some real-life stories to go along the way. I'll talk about the glitz and glamour, all the razzle-dazzle. I've been able to visit Germany, Italy, Spain, Slovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, Czech Republic, China, Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, Canada, and many more. Stayed in places that I personally can never afford. Rode around in limousines. Mind it that all of it was as a system architecture and not as a participant. But at the same time, I will not be naming names. Most of the people I met, well, I'm in good standing with them as an IT guy and, well, I do want future works and contracts. So not going to be burning any bridges here. Now I'm guessing if you have found this video by keywords, you already know what multi-level marketing is. On the other hand, if you're a regular viewer of my usual videos, maybe I should quickly introduce you to this horribly fascinating world of MLM. Wikipedia has quite a thorough explanation of what MLM or network marketing is. It's a controversial marketing strategy for the sale of products or services where the revenue of the MLM company is derived from a non-salaried workforce selling the company's products or services, while the earning of the participants are derived from a pyramid-shaped or binary compensation commission system. An MLM strategy may be an illegal pyramid scheme. In multi-level marketing, the compensation plan usually pays out participants from two potential revenue streams. The first is based on a sales commission from directly selling the product or service. The second is paid out from commissions based upon the wholesale purchases made by other sellers whom the participant has recruited to also sell product. In the organizational hierarchy of MLM companies, recruited participants, as well as those whom the recruit recruits, are referred to as one's downline distributors. MLM salespeople are, therefore, expected to sell products directly to end-user retail consumers by means of relationship referrals and word-of-mouth marketing. But more importantly, they're incentivized to recruit others to join the company's distribution chain as fellow salespeople so that they can become downline distributors. I'll be covering all of that and more. But first, let's talk about something fun, Well, at least for me. Let's talk about math, the bread and butter of all MLM system. But first, a personal anecdote. A story on how yours truly became a fan of mathematics. I think I might have talked about this in some other videos, but here it goes anyway. I guess I was around 8 or 9. In the country where I spent my childhood, we have this massive book fair once a year that lasts over a month to celebrate International Language Day. I had picked up a book on math that was originally in Russian and then translated. Using various stories, it presented different mathematical models and was an amazing read. Unfortunately, I don't have that book anymore, but I do remember most of the stories. Now, if any of you guys know the name of the actual book from the stories I'm about to recite, I would really appreciate if you could let me know it in the comments, as I would love to add it back to my collection. There were at least 4 stories I can remember explaining the same idea. One about making money, one about bicycles sold in Russia, and the 2 I'm about to narrate. The first one is about this great general. He fought valiantly and won many wars for his king and conquered many lands. Then, as he became older, he wanted to live the rest of his life peacefully. So he approached the king and asked him for his permission to retire and for the king to reward him with some amount of gold. Being an old guy myself, I can't recall the exact amount. Now the king was smart and also a miser. So instead of agreeing immediately, he asked the general to come back the following day. As the general came back, the king had a counter offer for him. The royal mint was within 5 minutes of walking distance from the throne room. The king first asked the general if he knew where the mint was. Once the general confirmed, the king proposed, "Go to the mint and pick up a 1-gram coin. Bring it to me. You can't use any other aid or get someone else to help you. Once you bring it over and show it to me, that piece of gold is yours. Then the next day, you can pick up a 2-gram coin and bring it over. The day after, it will be a 4-gram coin and 8-gram the day after that. Basically, every day, you'd have to bring me a coin, twice the weight of the previous day. And as long as you can bring it to me, you can have that gold." Our general was ecstatic and thanked the king for his generosity and agreed to this term. Now I will let you ponder on what would happen and get to the next story. Don't worry, I'll elaborate on it later on. This story also involves a king. He found out that one of his subjects came up with a wonderful game that is played on an 8x8 grid. There are 6 unique pieces with 16 pieces altogether, and the goal is to capture this one piece that belongs to the opponent. This game involves strategy and a lot of skill, and the king was mesmerized. He wanted to reward this peasant, and thus he was summoned to the court. The king basically asked his subject to name any reward he wants for this invention. The peasant thought for a little while and replied, "Your Majesty, there are 64 cells in the board. I want 1 grain of wheat for the first cell." The king was not amused. He offered this subject anything he could have asked for and felt slighted that he only asked for a single grain of wheat. The king mockingly asked, "Is that it?" "Oh no, sire. For the second cell, I would like 2 grains of wheat. For the third cell, I would like 4 grains. For the fourth cell, I would like 8 grains." The king cut him off at this point So basically you want twice the number of grains from the previous cell. Is that it? That is correct, my king. The king was furious at this point. He thought the peasant was trying to make a fool of himself. But the king kept his cool. He dismissed the peasant and said, "Go back to your hut. Your wheat will be there before you even manage to get back." The day passed by. At night time, just before going to bed, the king remembered this event. So he asked his minister if that fool inventor has got his reward yet. The king was surprised to hear that it wasn't done yet. He didn't appreciate that his orders were not followed with haste. So he reprimanded his minister and went to sleep. Next day, the king got back the same reply. Only on the third day, his minister approached him looking rather scared. He was told that they have managed to calculate how much wheat they would need to give to the peasant. The king didn't even want to know the number, but just said, "Give him what he asked for. Just take it out of our storage." That is when the minister broke the news to him. They didn't have enough grain to fulfill the promise. In fact, if they would drain all the rivers and planted seeds to fill it all up, it would still not be enough. Damn, I love that story. So, being a cheeky little boy I was, I immediately went to my parents with a proposition. I told them that I would pay them £100 every day for a whole month. In return, on the first day, they would just give me 1 penny. On the second day, they would give me 2 pennies, 4 pennies on the third day, and so on. This arrangement would last for only 30 days. Well, kudos to them. My parents knew something was fishy, and alas, they didn't agree. In hindsight, just as well, because we were never that rich. All these stories are really the same. In MLM, it is called Binary Compensation Commission System. I hope most of my viewers are already rolling on the floor with laughter and also amazed at this incredible geometrical progression. But let me break it down for the rest. Let's start with our general. Now, how much can you, dear viewer, can deadlift? I'm a skinny guy, weighing about 60 kilo. I can deadlift a little above my body weight. I never tried anything over 70 kilo. Let's make it a nice figure and call it 100 kilo. Back to math. We're talking about 2 to the power n, where n is the number of days minus 1. Starting at 1 gram, at day 11, we're talking about 1024 gram, or a little over 1 kilogram. Not really impressive, is it? Or is it? By day 18, it would become over 131 kilogram. By day 21, it would be over a ton. Even Paul Wright wouldn't be able to deadlift that amount. Jumping to my proposition. By day 20, my parents, if they would have agreed, would be giving me over 10,000 pounds for my 100 pound. By the end of the month, it would have ballooned up to a measly 5.3 million pounds. Finally, back to our inventor. It is actually called the wheat and chessboard problem. The final amount would be 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709 million, 551,615 grains of wheat, weighing over 1.1 trillion metric tons, about 1,640 times annual world production based on 2019 data. A tiny bit more than what most people would have guessed. When MLM employs a binary system, you have a position somewhere in what they call a matrix, basically your personal position. To actually make money from MLM, and trust me, I know many MLM millionaires, one has to be very close to the top of this matrix. There are two positions immediately underneath you. These two legs are generally called left and right leg. Now they would count the number of all the people in your left leg and then all the people in your right leg, and you'd get your commission based on your weak leg, i.e. the leg with less number of people. There are several other tricks employed to reduce the payout, something called qualifications. I will touch on this later on, but almost always you need to personally sponsor at least two people, one on each leg, to qualify to get any kind of commission. I hope you can see at this point why it is called a pyramid scheme. Suppose I start the scheme and I'm at the very top, or level 1. I get two suckers to join, they fill up level 2. Then they get 2 referrals each to fill up level 3. Then those 4 people have to get 8 people to fill up level 4. By the time you get to level 10, there are 1023 people altogether in this matrix. Not that bad. By level 30, you only need a bit more than 1 billion people to join the MLM, so it's all filled up. Obviously at this point, the people at the bottom would need to get 2 referrals each to qualify, requiring 2 billion more people. Then those 2 billions would require 4 billions more, and so on and on. Some MLM goes one step further by introducing trinary, quad system and such. In those systems, instead of having 2 persons underneath you in matrix, you have 3, 4 or more. Obviously then the number balloons up even quicker. Where the 10th level in binary would be only 512, on trinary system it would be 19,683. There are not enough people on the planet to let it go to level 30. At level 20, it would reach 3.4 billion people. Suck to be one at the bottom of that matrix. Well, this video is just a primer for things to come. There is still a lot to cover, even on this binary compensation commission system. And then there is unilevel compensation commission system to discuss. I would rather have this series as shorter videos, and thus will continue on future episodes. My goal ultimately is to have people know the pitfalls and basic understanding on how most MLM systems work, so that one can make a more informed decisions based on knowledge rather than the hype and razzle-dazzle. If you're thinking of joining such system, I sure hope that you will find this video and series helpful. If you know anyone who's planning to join MLM, maybe you can also share this video with them. In any case, if you find this video helpful and worthwhile, please like and such to feed the algorithm. If you want to be super awesome, please consider subscribing so you can be updated with my new contents. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you'd like me to continue with this series. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.